Welcome to 5 Digital Asset Security Risks Someone Should Have Warned Me About, and the stories you need to hear so you can learn to avoid them now. My name is Todd DeCapua. I wanted to go ahead and share this session with you as I'd recently presented it at a very large security conference, but I think it's critical and the timing couldn't be better to be able to get these ideas out so that you could mitigate these risks now and be prepared in the very near future. A few of the discussion points that I'm hoping to cover with you today. Wanted to provide you with a quick background and a story. Also, look at what are some of these digital assets that you may be seeing or not seeing in your environment today. Also, look at 5 digital asset security risks, and then provide a little bit of a wrap up. So, as we move to this quick background and a story, one of the things that I wanted to share is I've come up as a developer, as a program leader, as a director of technology, leader of people. And the thing that I have found interesting is as I've worked through a lot in performance engineering, I've continuously seen the correlation of security as well. And one of the things that I've done in my career is consciously made a shift to spend some time in security. Well, what that's enabled me to do is gain some additional insights and perspective, and as well as learnings that I can apply and also share. So that's kind of a very quick background and kind of where my journey has taken me. The other pieces here that I wanted to share is things like SSL certificates. They're out there. You may or may not know how they are managed. This very specific story was for a smaller web-based application. We were getting ready to host a very large customer conference and getting ready to launch something called Software Insights. And as we were coming into our customer advisory board, one of the things that ended up happening was we had some SSL certificates expire, and they were actually expiring as I was flying out to this conference. Upon landing, I was notified that our application was not working and some additional research would need to be done. So, again, I needed to dig in, start looking around at some of these AWS servers and see where things were going wrong. Quickly to find out that, in fact, it was a certificate that had expired, and my infrastructure team thought that those were the development servers that we ended up not using, not the production servers that were actually hosting everything. So again, very simple thing like an SSL certificate, an experience that I had had, and caused a bit of short-term stress. But we did get a new certificate. We did implement it, get it installed, so that when we held this customer meeting on Sunday morning, that we were able to have everything up and running. The second one here you can see is the Syrian Electronic Army. This is a story that I love to tell. It highlights how some of the organizations out there today are looking to do things like take over your domain. This was the Wall Street Journal. This was also the Syrian Electronic Army. They were able to take over the wallstreetjournal.com for a period of time and control that domain, sending users to wherever they had wanted to. The third bullet here, you can see revenue, brand, customer, and competitive advantage. So these are kind of 4 areas that I often look at. And as you share these ideas with people, um, these 5 ideas of your digital assets and some things that you can do, I often like to bring it back to the business value. So, what is the impact to revenue of any of these types of um, impacts, or technology breaches, other security risks that lie out there with your digital assets. Um, Brand, what happens to your brand? How about customer attraction and retention? And then also from a competitive perspective, how are you positioning yourself differently than your competitors in the marketplace today? So, again, just a quick background, some stories, and reflection points on how I would suggest we want to look at this. Next, what are your digital assets? So again, we're going to speak a little bit about digital asset security. I think it's important that we first define, maybe what are some of these digital assets that we could start to look at and speak about today. So you can see them laid out here first with domain management and strategy. Again, many organizations that I have worked with have thousands of domains in their domain portfolio. How are they managed? What is your strategy around your management of those domains? Often, this is an area of opportunity. Number two, online brand protection. So when we spoke about potential brand impact to your organization or other organizations in your space, what is it you can do to protect your brand? Much of this is through automation, through big data, through some analysis. Oftentimes, you'll see artificial intelligence built into it as well. But again, what is it that you can do to protect this digital asset called the online brand protection? Some other areas: DNS services and analytics. This is kind of the backbone of many of your digital assets, is the DNS that it is running or operating on. Many of you may be familiar with some of the larger DDoS attacks. We're seeing an increased frequency and size of these. These are then directly impacting those DNS services. So thinking about that as a digital asset and how are you able to proactively manage that is another critical area. Number four, SSL certificates. So I told you my story. Um, and as you think about your organization, there's several different types of SSL certificates. There's also a variety of ways that organizations are managing SSL certificates today. So, a very scary area, something I would highly recommend you asking a lot of those right questions to understand a bit more about how SSL certificates are being managed in your organization. The fifth one that I've laid out here is social media username registration and management. So, even something as basic as your organization is getting ready to do some new marketing campaigns or launch some new products. Are those social media usernames even available? Or the things like that that are available? How is it that you are registering these? How is it that you are managing these? Who has access to them? Who is that voice for your organization? So again, these are kind of the five digital assets I thought would be great to touch on right now. And again, this is what I had shared previously at a very large security conference. Um, as we look at each one of these different digital assets, there's three different ways that we can think about this and approach them. So one is being able to consolidate and secure your digital assets. A second being monitor for threats and enforcing your rights. And then lastly is being able to optimize and promote your digital portfolio. So we could look at each one of these independently. For today, I want to spend some time really focusing on optimize and promote your digital portfolio. I think it's critical that we do look at the first two. However, for today, we just need to focus on optimize. Many organizations have kind of over the years accumulated a variety of these digital assets. Again, whether we're talking about your domain management and strategy, or online brand protection, or DNS services and analytics, or SSL certificates, or the social media username registration and management, really these kind of things take on their own um, personas, and every organization's a little bit different. Maybe within the group that you work in, they're managed a certain way, but in another organization, it's managed a completely different way. So as you think about these digital assets across that enterprise, how is it you can optimize them, and how is it that you can promote that digital portfolio? So as a reminder, these are the five um, areas or focus points that we can look at today around optimizing and promoting your digital portfolio. For this video, we're going to focus on DNS Services and Analytics. For number three, DNS Services and Analytics, I spoke a little bit about it as we kind of went through our introductory conversation. But as you look at these 3 points, you can see that I'm going to touch on being able to identify, um, assess, as well as prepare, and what each one of these means in a little bit more detail. So being able to identify which of your domains are mission critical and require 100% uptime. It's interesting is as I speak with people and as some of these massive DDoS attacks happen, I clearly remember one that happened in recent history that was very, very significant for the East Coast of the United States. And not too long thereafter, I was at a conference and we were on a panel discussion, and I think there was 5 or 6 of us on this panel, and it was only an hour discussion. But would you believe that the topic was supposed to be performance related, but we spent half of that session speaking about DNS, speaking about DDoS, and helping the number of people that were in the room understanding a little bit more about what it is, the impact that it can have on your sites, your applications, and your organization. But most importantly, is you do have a choice. So this is something that not many people really know about straight away, but being able to identify which of your domains are mission critical, and require 100% uptime, and knowing that you have a choice around your DNS. And there are more premium services that are out there and available, so that if you knew, okay, these are my mission critical domains, and for my customers and for my business, we absolutely require 100% uptime. So I am willing to pay a little bit of a premium to ensure all of that can happen. Again, you can choose that DNS provider so that you can ensure those domains that you've identified as mission critical will absolutely be up and available. Number two, assess. So really looking at this security risk that's amongst all of the current DNS providers. This is something that changes slightly over time, so it's important that you continuously monitor and manage and observe the different DNS providers, and being able to formulate kind of a consolidation strategy. So one of the other things that I observe many a time as I work in organizations is this DNS strategy, or um, I guess the way that it's just kind of proliferates over time is you get one DNS provider, then somebody goes out and they pick up another DNS provider. So now you end up with, and again, I've seen large organizations where you've got 18 to 35 different DNS providers across the organization. Really makes it quite a challenge to be able to appropriately um, manage that. And clearly, there's not a strategy in place when you have that many DNS providers. Why is that important from a security risk perspective? Well, imagine the holes, imagine the opportunity where, again, if you have some of these lower value, higher risk from a security perspective DNS providers, and they are kind of buried in that group of 18 to 35 different providers, can you really focus on being able to manage that risk? Can you focus on being able to manage that as a strategy appropriately? The answer is no. So again, some of the recommendations you'll see in here are, get it down to a common, maybe 3 to 5 DNS providers. Make sure that you're getting the right level of service for those domains, and ensuring that you are getting that service that you absolutely need. That should all be structured around a consolidation strategy for you, being able to move you from that 18 to 35 different DNS providers down to a 3 to 5 that is quite manageable in your overall DNS services strategy. Lastly, prepare for domain name analytics and centralized zone management. So again, a critical element that as we think about DNS services and analytics, how is it that we're able to show the traffic? How is it that we're able to look at all the different aspects behind each of these domain names and really understand what are the risks that we have out there from a digital asset security perspective, as well as being able to do the centralized zone management again at that domain and DNS level, so to appropriately and most efficiently be able to manage these services. Again, three seemingly simple points, but as I look at digital asset security risks, as we look at this third one around DNS services and analytics, these are the questions that you need to be asking now and having these conversations so to be able to mitigate this future risk for you and for your organization. So, as we look to wrap up this conversation around digital asset security risks, the five risks which we walked through at the beginning, spend a little bit of time, focusing on these in this video, but thinking about domain management and strategy, thinking about the online brand protection, DNS services and analytics, SSL certificates, social media username registration and management. Really, what I want to do is give you the conversation points, the discussions to be able to take this forward and say, right, we need to focus a little bit more on online brand protection. What are those conversations that I need to be having? Why is it important to our business? Is it, tied into our brand? Is it tied into revenue? Is it, how about your customer attraction and retention or competitive advantage? What are those elements and why has this become very important for your customers and for your business? So again, as we kind of wrap up, want to bring it right back to these 5 points, and hopefully you're feeling a bit more informed so that you can have those types of discussions and start the dialogue. Because these are, I believe, the five largest digital asset security risks that exist today. And having these conversations will increase the awareness and reduce the risk across many organizations around the world today, hopefully making for a much better experience for all of us as customers and consumers of various products and services from a number of organizations just like yours. So, with that, I would just like to say thank you for taking the time to listen a little bit. Hopefully, you've been able to learn. I would ask that whatever you have learned today, that you also share these. I'm fairly active on Twitter, as well as a number of other social media sites. You can see that my handle is appperfeng, so that's standing for Application Performance Engineering. Would also encourage you go to our website of effectiveperformanceengineering.com. Was fortunate enough to have the opportunity to author a book with O'Reilly Media titled Effective Performance Engineering, and they have offered electronic copies of that as a free download from this site. So, again, thank you again for this opportunity to speak with you a little bit more about five digital asset security risks and some of the stories and things that you can be doing today to help protect you and your organizations. Thanks again.